Hello, my name is Jacob, and I've been drawing since 2015. And after all of these years, 10 years, a decade of drawing, I am mid at it. That's because halfway through my drawing career, where I wanted to work professionally as an artist, I changed paths and became a video editor. But I'm trying to get back into the art. So with that, every once in a while, I do still get commissions from people that commissioned me in the past and still remember me for the art I made. And apparently they liked it enough to want to commission me again. And again and again and again. It's the same person. It's always the same person. Thank you so much, bros. Okay, first of all, thank you very much for clicking on this video. I hope that the walkthrough will be entertaining to you, and throughout the video I'll sprinkle in some tips on working faster. The first tip on working faster is to gather reference. You can see in the beginning there I didn't do that. I don't know what I was thinking, but I think I was just doodling to warm up. But yeah, looking for reference. Obviously, this is client work and not your personal drawing, but even if it was your personal drawing, and even if it's for the sake of improving and studying, you get better by observing. So you need reference. You can't do it without reference. Secondary thing is to save yourself a lot of pain later, especially when you do client work or when you're doing illustration in general, really, is to draw thumbnails for your illustrations, because iterating horizontally takes significantly less time than iterating vertically. And what I mean by that is that before you go deep into the process, making changes takes significantly less time. Hence, iterating horizontally takes a lot less time than iterating vertically. So if you are going to iterate, which most likely will be the case, especially with client work, it's important to try to do that before. And as much as clients will tell you, yeah, you know what, I like this thumbnail, go with this. Yeah, you know what, I like this sketch, go with this. The more steps you have before, like for example, you show them thumbnails and then you show them a black and white block out and then the sketch over and over again, the less likely it is that later on they're going to ask you for big changes. The next step is then to sketch, and this is pretty self-explanatory. However, since before we spent time making thumbnails and blockouts, the sketch ends up being significantly faster because I have a base to work off of. And then the sketch can be a little cleaner, still not being too clean because I tend to be on the painterly side. And so then the sketch doesn't have to be perfect and I still get to do it significantly faster. Using the lasso tool for base colors helps avoid empty pixels and is faster than manually tracing the outline. Don't be a dingus bob like me though and do each color blush separately. That's stupid because then you might still get empty pixels. Ideally, you'd want to have outlined the entire silhouette of your subject, then use that silhouette as a mask and draw your base colors on top of that. That way you actually have no empty pixels. And the way you do this is you use the lasso tool and then you draw all the dots. Depending on how complicated or simple the shape is, you gotta zoom in or zoom out, and then you fill. Still way faster than painting everything in yourself. Oh no, what happened here? Why is there randomly a picture in the background? Well, no, you'd be wrong about that. It's a screenshot, so yes, it is a picture. God damn it. It's a picture of a background that I made in Unreal Engine, and actually I had to do this multiple times. We had multiple iterations in the background and struggled a lot to get it right for her, but it's okay. Eventually we did land on something that was acceptable to her. And the footage you see here, by the way, isn't of the one that we actually ended up going with, but those were the other two backgrounds that I was working on, the other two scenes. And yeah, so we ended up going with this stage background where the back of the stage is broken and the wall is open so you can see the moonlight coming through on the vampire on the stage with the spotlight. Moving on, it's time for rendering. And with that, I actually opted to first do simple shadows, and then after the simple shadows, do lighting and wherever I want the light sources to be. The reason why is because then the majority of the rendering is affected by bounced light or the environment. This is also why earlier when I was doing the background, I actually just had the character in base color and kept it in base color until I managed to figure out a background that the client liked. Then when that was the case, I moved on to doing the shadows because then I know what color to tint the shadows, what color to tint the light. But in this case, since the whole scene is already dark, the colors and literally what you see comes in from the light. Hence, I open with a light and then render in the reflections. The fur on the vampire's coat, the reflections of the metal, the clothes of Vivian, and so on and so forth. Then the very last thing I had to do was fix up the legs because I realized they looked hella weird and the anatomy was completely off. I gotta brush up on that. And as you can see here, I was struggling so hard to do the foot. You can tell I had some trouble with that. I clearly need to get better at anatomy. And something I need to follow more is the first tip that I gave myself and gave you guys, and that's to use reference. Clearly I didn't use that enough, otherwise I wouldn't have had so much trouble having to do this later. And you can see this was pretty annoying to do towards the end of the process and would have been significantly less annoying had I just spent a little bit more time on the sketch. But in hindsight, that's my fault. Here's the art. Last thing I did is I do this actually at the end of each commission I did for her. I make a little card, since the purpose of this is to be a representation of the D&D character anyway. So there's the splash art, and then there's the little card with a little graphic element and a title befitting of the original character. I hope that the tips were helpful. Here they are compiled once more. If you want to skip to this and just take a screenshot and leave, you can do that, but I'd rather you watch the video. Thank you. I hope to make some more art videos, because I'm really getting the itch to draw again, and that makes me very happy. You know, this was my passion when I was a kid, and I hope it stays my passion forever. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. See you in the next one. Goodbye. Like and subscribe.